Welcome to Bright Hope Creations. I'm Kara, and today we are celebrating a birthday under the Lollipop tree. We're using tiny birthday friends and tiny spring friends. Let's Play for the swing, and candy from Perfectly Wicked add-on and from Fox Costumes Before and Afters. Here is our platform pop-up and the add-on here, the tree house, and the slimline picket fence border and grassy hillside borders. I'll start by stamping out all my tiny friends there, and I'm using jet black ink because it's Copic friendly, and we will be using Copic markers today to color these in. And once I've cleaned those off, I'm going to add extra candy. So I took my acrylic block, and this is a 1 3/4 inch block that Lawn Fawn has, and it works great for all these little pieces here. So I'm just stamping and stamping away with all. I probably got carried away. I probably didn't need all of these images, but I didn't know how many I wanted, so I just kept stamping. Now I'm taking my Copic multi-liner and putting in the lines that I did. I wasn't so careful when I was stamping these today, but that's all right. I just came back and filled in those lines, and now I can start my coloring. There'll be a variety of skin colors here, and so I have the E00, E21, and E23. I'm not using a lot of different colors, but just using them in different amounts on the different faces to give them different looks to their skin. And then I knew I wanted a rainbow of fruity flavors for my candies, and so I picked a light and a medium or dark for each of those colors. I also used the color next to it on the spectrum to shade in at times as well. So I might use the YG to shade in the Y, so the yellow green to shade in the yellow. Here I'm using the blue greens, and I'm coloring up some new candies, but I'll also shade some of the lime green candies with that. Here are the blues. I used a B00 and a B02. The violets are a V01 and 4, RV52 and 55, a YR02 and 04 for my oranges, and then full circle with the Y13 and the Y19 to give that some shadow. Giving all these little tiny friends a variety of hair colors as well. I like the Y20s for the blonde hair, and I'm putting a little YR02 for a redhead there. And then E20s are what I use for the rest of the hair. I also touch some of the blondes with the E20s as well, but I just use different shades of the E20s. So here's the 23, and I go all the way up to an E27 with those. Now for their clothes, I used a combination of the candy colors. So that was an easy way of figuring out what colors to choose. And we kind of keep that same look across the whole card by using those colors. Now this girl with watering can, she reminds me of that Renoir. She was going to be watering some candy flowers, but I actually just stick that watering can behind, I think, some of the gifts. And she's just one of the party goers here, in case you were wondering. I'm finishing up all my coloring, and now I can take all the coordinating dies, and I will run these through my die cut machine, put a little low-tack tape on them so that those dies don't shift. And I'll cut through, obviously have lots of little candies here, so I'll make a few sweeps through that die cut machine and look at all of our candy. So fun. So I also cut out that swing from Let's Play, and that will be attached to our tree. And now here is our tree in paper bag cardstock, and our leaves for the tree in noble fir and cilantro. Some teas for the platform pop-up, and noble fir grass as well. I am going to ink blend this tree to give it a little definition. Start by just on the edges there, and then I'm also putting some ink inside that doorway so that it has a little bit of depth to it. And putting on that door and the window, and those are out of craft cardstock. Decided I wanted my tree to be a little darker along the edges, so darkening that up with my blending brush. And then I'm adding Noble Fir ink to both the cilantro and Noble Fir leaves that are going to go on the tree. I'm ink blending up the grass as well, and then I created some grass using the slimline grassy hillside borders, and I cut them with the platform pop-up so that I would have some grassy borders along the edge of that. I'll snip off the excess at the score lines there and also on the tab. And then I created 2 of those so that they could be all around the base of the platform. I ink blended both of those, and then I created one for the add-on for the background. Speaking of the add-on, here it is, and I cut it out of Kiwi Fizz pattern paper, and I also cut a slimline picket fence border to put in the background as well. Adding some ink to the background so the picket fence shows up, and this is just going to represent whatever kind of field is behind this tree, maybe some bushes or whatever. Kind of gives that bokeh effect with those dots. I'm going to add my grass and picket fence using the new jumbo glue tube, and it's sealed for my protection, so take the seal off. And this was my first time using that jumbo tube, and I really like it. It handles real well, and it stands up. You can stand it up normal, or you can put the cap on and stand it up upside down. So that's just a nice detail with this new jumbo glue tube. Now my tube is full of glue right now, so I just need to squirt a little out, and then I take the tip of it and just kind of drag that glue across, and that works really well. So there's my background all set to go, and it's time to put my platform pop-up together. So I'm using 1/4-inch double-sided tape, and I'm putting that on all the tabs. I'm using the B side, I'll call it, of the Kiwi Fizz. So the tone-on-tone stripes, and that's going to act as my grass in this, I don't know, I guess we're at a park for this party is my guess. You can see I cut 2 of the pieces. So you cut 2, and now I am folding at the score lines, and I'm reinforcing that with my bone folder as well. I'll do the same with the other piece, and then once I have them all folded, I keep it open, and that's the easiest way to put these T's in place. So the center T, I just cut off that tab, and I'll add some double-sided tape to the base of that T. And then for the other 2 T's, I put the double-sided tape on the tab. Here I have the platform piece upside down, and I'm taking that release paper off my tab, sliding it through the slit, and folding it over. And then I can take the next release paper off and fold that over. And so one side done. And then I'll do the same thing to the other side. So putting it upside down and taking that release paper off of my tab, sliding it through the slit, and folding it over. And then I can take the release paper off and fold that one over, tuck down that little tab there, and it's all set. Before I put the 2 pieces together, I want to add my grass that I cut out. So I'm gluing that on each side. If you didn't want to cut out these pieces, you could use the grassy stencil and just ink blend some grass on there as well. All right, so I'm putting the 2 pieces together by taking that release paper off the one tab and lining them up, and I'm putting some double-sided tape into the center, and I'll add my center T to that, take off that release paper, and then I put that T, I don't know why I did that. I put two pieces of adhesive together. Didn't need to. but I wasn't thinking. I just stuck it down, and now that means I need to put another piece of adhesive on the other side of the T. It's all right. So now I can just fold my pieces together and take that release paper off the tab and tuck that tab in, and this platform pop-up is all set. Look at that, ready to go. All that nice grass, green grass for our park scene. I'm going to set that aside and get started on the tree, gluing on the door frame and the window frame. And I cut a little spare piece of that ground coffee cardstock, and I'm going to add that behind my door and window. But I'm only gluing it on the edges because I want to open things up or tuck things in, and I don't want it to get in the way. A little bit more ground coffee cardstock for the doorknob. And now is the time to arrange. So putting some balloons in the window, and I tucked them in first to make sure that they would fit. Put some glue on the back, and and now I can't get them to fit. But it's an easy fix. Just snip off the end of the string and tuck it in there. Now I'm figuring out where the back of the tree is going to be by adding a little person in there and drawing a line to separate the floor from the wall. I'll span a few lines forward, and that'll kind of create my floor, and I don't really think you'll even see it much, but it's there. There's room for a couple of kids in here, so I'm tucking them on either side of that door, and I want to make sure that they can see out the window, and so I'm just positioning them. You can kind of see an eyeball of each one. Now, one of the fun things about this tree is you can make it very interactive. So we have a swing that's going to go up in there, and the piñata that comes from the Tiny Birthday Friends stamp set. And I'm positioning some of my leaves so that my piñata can be low enough for the little guy to hit at it. So there's that little guy with his bat, and I want to make sure that it's not too high for him, because that would be frustrating, right? So I'm gluing that down, and really this glue is so strong. You only need a little bit on each of those branches, and it's going to hold that just fine. And so now to figure out where the other leaves are going to go and to put that swing in there. Now, I will tell you that I move that swing and I move that piñata once I have things put together, but it's nice to have a start to figure out where they're going to be. I also thought about just snipping off those lines and adding string instead, so that's another way you can do it. Now I'm building up my leaf canopy here for the tree, just deciding how full I want it to look and where these leaves are going to end up. And then once I have them arranged, I'm just putting some glue on the backs of the front layer and getting those all glued down. And then I'll move that front layer down and add glue to the second layer. Now I can pop that tree back up and pull down that first and second layer and put glue on my third layer, and that's how I've got this all arranged, and I didn't have to move things around too much. All right, so tree is set. Time to add the fruit of the tree, which in this case are candies. So I remember there was some kind of candy tree when I was growing up. What was that? So I Googled it. I thought it was a lollipop tree. Sure enough, as soon as I saw the lyrics, all of a sudden I was transported back to second grade, Mrs. Hughes' class. Yes, I could see myself in that seat singing the Lollipop Tree song. So if you haven't heard it, I won't sing it for you because I'll be kind. But Burl Ives has a recording of it for your listening pleasure. It's funny how our brains work. I mean, I hadn't thought of that song. Well, obviously, for more than 40 years, and and I can remember all the lyrics now. It's just hilarious. Okay, so back to our card. So I am putting candies also on the little flower stems that come with the treehouse, and some of them I'm just gonna clip off and make the stems be the lollipops, and then other ones I'm going to use those little stems and put cupcakes on the ends of them, just kind of like bell flowers. That way we have candies all around, growing everywhere. Why candy? I don't know. I just thought that would be fun. If I were a kid to get a card that was a candy tree, oh boy, that would be the cat's meow. Well, anyway. I attached the tree to the grass, and now with an 1/8-inch double-sided tape, I'm going to attach the grass to the platform T-piece. I put it on the very back T so that I can have a few other things going on in front of it. Now, there's where I moved my piñata, and now I'm putting that little guy right on the tree roots there so that he can reach up to hit it. Added a little guy to the swing, and now this guy is holding that cake, but his friend is saying, no, I worked too hard on that cake. You're not just going to hold it with one hand. So she came over to help hold it up. And then we'll put a few gifts on the grass. And Renoir's girl with watering can is going to stand next to them. I'll add some candies to the ground that maybe fell out of the tree. And I have that 1/8-inch tape on the back of these pieces of grass. And I'll add those to the T's in front of the tree. Now I popped the platform pop-up all the way up, and that helps secure those down easily. I'm decorating the background with the flowers, the candy flowers, and just gluing them in places I think you can see them, because really you can't see a whole lot behind that big tree, but I thought the sides would work and a little bit from behind. So I also added some little bits of grass and some candies as well. Now I'll add that 1/8-inch double-sided tape to the very bottom of the back of this add-on and slip it into the back of the platform. And now I'm going to begin putting the sentiment together, and I'm using the Baked with Love stamp set, and the sentiment is "Have a sweet birthday." I'm clipping the words apart and I'll arrange them on my rectangle. This is a stitched rectangle that comes with the platform pop-up. I cut it out of some fake tan cardstock, and I'll use my jet black ink and ink that up and stamp it down. I'm stamping it down each little bit at a time because I decided to kind of have that angled a bit, and that way I can add in some sweet treats around it. So have a sweet birthday. That just seemed pretty appropriate for our lollipop tree scene. I've got a double-sided tape still on my desk, so just added that to the back of that rectangle and putting that centered on the front of my card. And now I'm adding some little friends all around so that we've got a really big gathering. I don't know, I think all the cousins and uncles, everybody's there to celebrate this birthday. Here are those candies to go around the sentiment. And then could not forget the party dog and the party cat with their little hats on. And I had so many party goers that I was able to use the back for the overflow. Now, you can see my tree up there at the top, and I thought it would be nice to add some more leaves on the back because it doesn't look quite finished. In hindsight, I think I would also add another die cut of the tree trunk, but I wasn't thinking about that at the time, and I can still go back and add it before I send this out. So we're safe. All right, well, now that our card is all done, you might be wondering, how tall is that card once it's folded flat? Well, I have an envelope here that fits a 5.5 by 8.5 inch card, and it works perfectly for my platform pop-up. And I just sent one the other day, and I put it between two sheets of cardstock just so that it wouldn't bend at all. I hope you enjoyed the video today and it inspires you to maybe make a lollipop tree card, or maybe even plant a lollipop stick and make a real lollipop tree for yourself. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.